In this tutorial, I am going to teach you how to make some foliage using a sponge. I was tired of spending a lot of money, so I decided to do it on the cheap. So what you need is a sponge, a bowl, some paints. For this demonstration, I used green, black, and yellow, and some glue, which will make it stick together a little bit better. The first thing you're going to need to do is cut down your sponge and prepare it for the blender. You could paint in many colors. In this case, I didn't want to overdo the blender, so I only cut half the sponge down. I did the other half later. In fact, I did one half one color and the other half I made it a darker shade. But for this demonstration, I'm only showing the lighter shade. This step is pretty self-explanatory. Just don't overdo it. As you can see here, even though I've sped up the video a little bit, I only blended it for just a couple seconds. Now comes the time where you're going to add some color to the shredded sponge. As I mentioned before, for this one, I used green, yellow, and some glue. Mixed that together so that I could have kind of a yellow-green color. The cool thing about trees is they come in so many different shades of green, so you can make it however you want. The more shades, the better off you are, in my opinion. After you've mixed your color and you're happy with what you have, it's time to pour the contents of the blender into the bowl and start mixing it up. Just be careful, you don't want to make a mess. In my case, I am married. Happy wife equals happy life, so that means minimize the messes. Now it's time to let it soak. For this demonstration, I chose to move the colored sponge from the bowl into a Ziploc baggie. After I got everything into the baggie, that's when it came time to mix it a little bit more. I got all the air out, and then I just squeeze it around, squish it around, and now it's ready for the next step. After letting it soak for 30 minutes to an hour, now it's time to let it dry. The first thing you do here is go ahead and remove all of the water. You could squeeze some of the sponge as you're doing so, but keep in mind the more you squeeze out, the more color you are going to lose. Sometimes it's not too bad because it leaves a little bit of the yellow of the sponge, which is what I chose to do in this purpose. For the darker shade, I didn't squeeze out as much water. And as you can see here, you dump it from the bag. I put it on a cookie sheet and some wax paper, spread it out, and the final product, once it's dried for about a day, is beautiful foliage. Please share and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dungeons and Designs.